It sounds like a studio monitor, but louder. Hi, I'm David Lee from BASSBOSS, and this is the AT312. AT stands for Attuned Top, so this is a mid-high box that is designed to work with a subwoofer. And what is it? This is a relatively near-field to mid-field cabinet that features a coaxial mid-high section and then a lower frequency section featuring two 12-inch woofers. So that's why it's a 312. There's two low frequency 12s and a mid-range 12. And through the middle of this 12 up here, this coaxial 12, there's actually a compression driver firing through a 1.4-inch throat horn. That horn is machined into the pull piece and uses the cone for the rest of the horn. So this is a relatively full range section here that runs from about 250 odd hertz up, and then 250 hertz down to 60 hertz comes from this lower section here. Gives it the ability to sound very even off axis. Because that mid-range 12 reaches as low as 250, it's able to be integrated with these two other low frequency devices, and you don't get off axis anomalies. So you can fly it horizontally in a low ceiling environment, and you can get high resolution, high quality audio at high levels. That's the genesis of this box. This box started out life as a near field high output monitor. This is something that you can stand next to and get high output, really high SPL, but that you can be very close to, or reasonably close to, and be able to not have this sound field change as you move. So it sounds very consistent. You can fly it around a dance floor, you can use it as Texas headphones, you can use it in a large auditorium. We can cover a 1,000-seat auditorium with a box like this if it's high enough and aimed into the auditorium. So its SPL is really capable. In context with other boxes like the AT212, the AT212 actually provides more SPL than this does because its mid-range is being produced by two 12s, where this one is produced by just one. But the resolution, the division of labor that gives us is much smoother, more even pattern control of the mid-range, even though at a slightly less, approximately 3 dB less SPL that it can deliver. So this box is for those who want really detailed, smooth mid-range, really even coverage, great off-axis coverage, great resistance to feedback, but the SPL that you just can't get from another studio monitor. The studio monitor type of thing, like an old Tannoy coaxial 15 or something like that, is where this box compares to, but with a lot more SPL, active crossover, built-in power. So speaking of power, it actually has an 800-watt channel on the high frequency, an 800-watt channel on the mid frequency, and a 2400-watt channel for the low frequency. The total number of output watts in the amplifier is 4,000. Now, it's not going to be doing 4,000 watts of continuous output, but for the duration of the capacitor charge, this thing has a lot of output. Now, it's a little bit bigger than the 212. This box is 4 feet tall, it is 15 inches wide, and it's 20 inches deep, and it weighs 126 pounds. It has two 4-inch coil woofers and a 3.5-inch coil 12-inch mid-range with a 3-inch coil high-frequency driver through the middle of it. All the motors are neodymium, so it's as light as we can make it, and it is made out of 18mm birch, so it is a solid piece of hardware. It has fly points in the top and the bottom, making it really easy to fly horizontally, also to fly vertically. But one of the things that this thing has as a significant advantage over the AT212 is that when you rotate it, the pattern doesn't change. It's an 80-degree conical pattern. So whichever way up you have it, your pattern is consistent. And your off-axis sound quality is the same in any direction. Your resistance to feedback, again, same in any direction. Great box for those who want reference monitor quality at performance level in a larger environment. Now the AT312 is not technically a full range cabinet. It will get as low as 60 Hertz and it will make significant SPL down into that range. It is intended to be used with a subwoofer, at least one for the most part, and more if you need more SPL. Like the other tops in the BASSBOSS range, this one has a adjustable crossover frequencies with each of the presets. So it starts at 60, then it moves it up 60, 70, 80, 90, and so on, so that you can raise the low frequency cutoff of the box and increase the available headroom for mid-bass and mid-range output. That said, which subwoofers do you run it with? Well, being that it is a 4-foot tall box, that when it's lying down, it will travel comfortably on top of an SSP 218 or 2 or 3. And those can be stacked on a cart, and then this box can roll in on top of those. It also shares that same 4-foot dimension with the Makara, so that's another combination that you can use it with. Of course, you can use it with a ZV-28. My ideal system would be 2 ZV-28s and 1 AT312 on each side. And one of the reasons for that is that the ZV-28 is an excellent super deep bass subwoofer. And it's really best when it's used for those very low frequencies. And this box has really outstanding capabilities in the lower mid-bass frequencies because of these dual 12-inch, virtually they're subwoofer drivers in this cabinet. And so running them down into the 60 Hertz range and then running that subwoofer down below that really makes for a fantastic combination. A lot of impact, a lot of warmth from the mid-bass, and that extended deep low end that those subwoofers, those ZV-28s can bring. That is like the ultimate monitor package. I can't think of anything that I've ever heard of, never mind heard, that would get close to that. That is probably the system that I would take to a desert island if I was going to go, just have one system, granted not one speaker, and I had to listen to them forever. At this point, it would be that setup or stack at tailwhips. But in the terms of the space and constraints, if I had to get it in the boat to get it to the island, it might need to be this system. So if you need a little bit more SPL, you can get up to the Kraken, put a Kraken with an AT312, and you can enjoy that for a while too. As far as anything else goes, yeah, you can pair it with SSP 118s, VS21s, pretty much any subwoofer, because everything is intercompatible. You can run any of our tops with any of our subs. So sometimes it's just up to the particular balance that you're looking for. For instance, a VS21 give you a little bit more impact, but this box is really capable in that upper bass kind of range. And so you can use it with a ZV-28 really effectively, because the ZV-28 gives you that really low end extension, and it can benefit from having this double 12-inch mid-bass punch that this box brings into the mix. People look at it and they think, oh, it's a PA box. It sounds like a studio monitor, but louder. And that's the magic of the AT312. This being within the Mark III series, it also has the ControlBASS connectivity. The ControlBASS gives you access to parametric filters, delay, remote level control, and of course, updates as they come out. And within those updates are additional settings that we create to make sure that we give as many different application-specific or as broad of a range of applications as we can serve with this cabinet. So you can choose from additional presets once you plug into the software, do the update, and we provide you with as many presets as we can come up with. Occasionally we'll get feedback from someone and they will ask us for something in particular that we may not have thought of, and we'll integrate that into one of the future releases. So always keep them updated. You want to check back every once in a while and see if there's anything that's changed. You can download and update the settings files, and the new firmware is always embedded within those files. So keep that in mind when you're looking at these boxes. We try to make them as future-proof as possible. We want to make sure that any new development that comes out, any new application that we can come up with, is accessible to anybody who already owns one of these. So one of the questions that some people will ask is, can you array them? Well, the thing is, can you is a different question from should you. You can, but you shouldn't, because with an 80-degree conical pattern, you put two next to each other, you end up with comb filtering. They're better on their own, with one on the left, one on the right. Heck, put one in the back left, one in the back right if you need to. But if you put them right adjacent to each other, you end up kind of destroying that imaging, the fabulous stereo imaging, and you start getting comb filtering, which means that it's no longer consistent as you move. You don't have that really smooth response regardless of your location. So can you? Yes. Should you? No. This was really a special sounding system, and it's not fatiguing. You can listen to it for ages and ages, and it's so transparent that when you listen to the music that somebody's produced for the sake of communicating emotion to you, it comes through. You know, we've had lots of people, I've played these boxes for folks, and we've heard people tell stories of they'll start playing their favorite songs and they'll just start tearing up from the experience of hearing that music at that level, at that clarity. It's just, it kind of defines immersive. You know, immersive is a buzzword in the industry these days, but it's an artificial construct. Immersive in this context is an emotional immersive. And this is the way there. This is the portal into that immersive environment. So that's the AT312.